Alright, welcome back to another Trading to Freedom series episode. Today is episode 25. Let me turn this down a little bit. The topic of today's video is going to be patience. And I've already done a patience video before. I looked over it and stuff like that. I just kind of have a different perspective on it now, and I want to explain it in a different way. Someone's giving me a call. Hold on. Fine, I'm just recording a YouTube video right now. But yes, they're doing good. Alright. Anyway, yeah, so the way that I kind of talked about patience in the video, I kind of, it's still good, and I definitely think you guys should go check it out, but I have a different perspective on it now, and kind of maybe the way I explain it now might give you a bit more understanding, and might help you better to implement it when you're actually trading. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video. If you want to just skip the recap and go straight to the psychology lesson, click this timestamp, and yeah, let's get into it. So this is the setup I took on ES. And just to clarify, guys, this is all paper trade. If you haven't seen my last video, I'm waiting for my funded futures to lift the restrictions on my account so I can trade with, you know, a funded account. But for now, I'm not going to like switch prop firms and buy other prop firms and, you know, waste my money on there. I'm just going to stay on my funded futures. And if I can't trade with them, I'm going to just paper trade, you know, give myself that break, give myself some more, you know, repetition and practice. Let's just get into it. Right, so here I just took a continuation, right? Let's kind of start from the top, like how I broke it down, and then we'll kind of get into the execution here. Okay, so first thing I want to show you guys is the daily chart, because this is so important, and it helps me so much every morning when I trade. So this is the Friday candle right here, right? This is the candle the day I traded. The last two daily candles tell me a lot, right? Obviously, these other daily candles, there's a lot of low volume candles here, right? Or building up, generating some liquidity. And that usually means that price is going to start to change direction when we start slowing down like this, which it did. We came down for a retrace. It wasn't a reversal. I believe this is just a retrace. So first what I did, right, is I marked the previous day candle, right, the high and low of that daily candle. And I saw that the candle yesterday prior to the candle, the day that I'm trading, this Thursday candle took out the low of this candle, but failed to take out the high of that daily candle, right? It took the low out. Right, but it didn't close, the body didn't close below it. It just, you know, it just pushed off of it. This is like a liquidity sweep. Right, this is basically a liquidity sweep on the daily chart. It's sweeping liquidity and we're bouncing off of it. So that's why I was more inclined to look for long stay, because I was expecting this daily candle to at least take out this high of this candle right here, right? And maybe even this high. I didn't know for sure if it would, but I was definitely expecting this high to get broken into and to hold this low. This would be a protected low here. And why? And obviously that's because, right, we took the low of this candle. We didn't close, body didn't close below it, right? We're tapping into a fair value gap, and we're getting nice rejection off of it. And there really isn't much else for you know, attack down here. Another thing too is you guys could have, I mean, you could have looked at this fair value gap and be like, well, right, if you mark it wick to wick, and you look at what we touch, we're barely, you know, touching 0.25 level of it. So it's like we didn't even get a 0.5 fill. So it would also make you think that maybe we're going to see another bearish candle to see that full fill of this fair value gap. Well, the only reason I didn't think that and I wasn't inclined to that is because of the fact that the body of this candle didn't close below the body of this low right here. It didn't close below this low. So that was just good rejection for me. And I was just like, yeah, I want to see these highs get taken out, mostly this high. And that happened, right? We actually took out all three of these highs. So let's get down to lower time frames and kind of, you know, break it down here. Okay, so here, right, on Friday at 7 a.m., what am I looking at? This is the hourly chart. I'm on ES, and I'm looking at, I see that we are tapping into a hourly gap here, right? And some of you guys might think, oh, this is an inversion. No, it's not. You know why? Because look at this. There's two fair value gaps here, right? There's one here, and there's one here. All right, so you see that there's two fair value gaps, right? I mark this body to body on my fair value gaps usually because that's what ICT does. You know, the creator of ICT concepts. He marks the volume balances body to body, and I think it's a bit more accurate, so I just do that because there's two fair value gaps stacked on each other, right? And what happens to the first one, right? Even if we mark this wick to wick, that you guys usually do. This candle comes in, doesn't even fill it. This candle comes in, right? This hourly candle comes in, holds the gap, and it starts going into this level. It starts tapping into this fair value gap, but it holds this gap. It doesn't, the body isn't closing below the wick or body here. So this is, if this was an inversion, then we could expect price to come deeper into here. But this didn't even get inversed, right? We got rejection. We came down again. This is some nice displacement, But look, like I said, body to body, we didn't close below the body of this in volume balance. So this is an inversion, and especially the fact that this didn't get inverse, this is likely not to get inversed as well. This is just a significant retrace. So that's why I was like, yeah, I'm definitely looking for longs today, right? I don't even care about this resistance right here. You know why? Because like I said, this didn't get inversed, right? And then look at the low of this candle. This candle took out damn near most of this resistance already. So I'm not really looking for this. Like this isn't important to me. The draw on liquidity is not that. That's not the most highest quality liquidity we're looking for. I'm looking at these session highs or lows, right? Like look at all these. This is all points of interest right here. So definitely looking for longs today. I was looking for a continuation, most likely. But yeah, let's get down lower. This is where I start to see my continuation setup. This is around 8:49, right? We started expanding off market open, right? If you look at 8:30, we just expanded, and I didn't really buy into this pullback because, like I said, there's a lot of stacked fair value gaps here, and this happens to a lot of people. I'm sure you guys, get the same problem where like you're waiting for a pullback, right? You're trying to trade a continuation, you wait for a pullback, but then you realize there's like 4 other fair value gaps under the fair value gap that you're marked out. So it's a bit risky on those, and it's like there's no actual way to tell if it's gonna keep going lower and tap into a random fair value gap and then push up, or if it's gonna just like you see here, it pulls back and then expands. We don't know if it's gonna come down here, down here, down here. There's just no possible way of telling you that. That's why I didn't really join in there. And but since this happened, I was like, all right, the next one then, the next viable pullback, I'm going to enter off in, right? Because the draw on liquidity is very strong towards these highs, and I am going to go for that, right? Really noticing these candles, how they are just directional candles, right? We clearly are chasing these relative equal highs up here that I have marked out on that line. So, why did I say relative equal lows? Equal highs that I marked out for the TP. So yeah, once this swing low was created, right, we got a full fill of this fair value gap. This fair value gap, put out my fib. I see that we have filled it completely, literally down to the fucking wick. So I'm like, all right, cool, great rejection. I'm buying in, right? This 1 minute candle is a up candle. I buy in right here, I believe. Yeah, let me adjust that here. Set my stop loss at the swing low. It's a bit tight, bit of a tight stop loss, but I was pretty confident in my draw. So as you can see, price ends up, coming down a bit more, and then it chops around a bit, but then plays out. And this trade was this was a 11 minute trade, so fairly easy, fairly good. We literally perfectly swept this highs right here, and I think we actually ended up like coming into this fair value gap, tapping it perfectly, and then coming back up again. Look at that. It literally just taps perfectly into that 0.5 level, and then this is a setup right here. This is literally a setup right here. Inversion. Like I'm literally, look, I go for this high right here. Say your stop loss at the swing low. 1.8, look at this. Wait, let it cook. Hold on. We're still in. Hold on. Wow, edged. Hey, this played out. This fucking plays out, boys. Look at this. This fucking plays out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this looks like the most stressful trade ever, but hey, that's a setup for me right there. I definitely should have waited for a fatter pullback right here, like entering off there, but whatever, right? But yeah, that's basically the recap for today. I really was proud of myself today on Friday, on how I approach this setup, right? I started off daily candle, went down 4 hour, 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute, and just broke down and found every PD rate possible. When you take your trades with actual smart thoughts, right? With conviction, with actual reasoning, it all makes more sense, and you're just less stressed, right? When I took this trade, I was stress free. Look at this clip of me mid trade. Just stress-free. Like, it was good because I knew exactly what was going to happen. If I would have took the loss, I would have been fine with that loss because I did everything in my power. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this psychology talk. I'm already 15 minutes in recordings, and I don't want this video to be longer than 10 or 12, so I got to do a lot of editing here. But basically patience. Let's talk about that. So what I mean by patience, I mean literally you holding your fucking self back, right? That little voice in your head that makes stupid decisions, impulsive decisions based on what you're seeing. That is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about keeping that voice under control, keeping those impulsations under control, right? When you just do something without even thinking it through. That's what I call impatience, right? When you're acting without reasoning, it's impatience and it's pointless. So every time when you get on the charts and you're trading actively in the morning, right? Just engrave in your mind, okay, before I make an action when it comes to day trading or anything on this chart on this computer screen, let me make sure I'm backing it up with reasoning and make it make sense in my head or even out loud. I like to talk out loud, even if I'm not recording. I'll talk out loud and talk to myself and be like, okay, I'm taking this trade because of this, and that. And I'm making it make sense. Obviously, you can make anything make sense in your head. You can be fucking delusional, but at least be delusional. Don't just press the buy or sell button for just because you want some dopamine and you just took a loss or you're just greedy, right? If you actually, if you're just a little bit delusional, and even if it doesn't really make sense what you're saying, at least you're backing up what you're doing with some sort of reasoning. So that way you can reflect on it. Because when you reflect on impulse or revenge trade, you're just looking at yourself being a retard. Like, you're just looking at yourself being stupid as fuck, making stupid decisions, and it makes you hate yourself, and it makes you depressed. But if you reflect on someone who, actually thought through what they did today in that trade. But basically what I'm trying to say is, like, before you make a decision, and this is with anything in life, just, like, think it through in your head. Some people really just, like, do stuff without thinking. And I catch myself doing that sometimes. It's rare. Like, I think about what I do. I'm very self-conscious, but there's some times where I act with just without thinking. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, why did I do that? Like, I feel stupid, but you should really think about that. You should really think about, like, before you do anything in life, anything, think it through in your head. Let it play out in your head. Your mind is so fucking powerful, bro. Like, you have a fucking machine in your head. You can literally, like, before you make a decision, you can imagine it in your head and how it's going to go and repeat it multiple times and do trial and errors in your fucking head if you actually try. I don't know if I sound crazy saying that, but that's what I do. Like, when I'm sitting here on this computer screen, I'm thinking about getting back into the market to want to trade again because I just took a loss. I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, if I take this loss and I win, right, I'll be happy, but I'll also be disappointed. But if I lose, I'll be pissed and I'll probably break something. And I'm probably going to break this monitor right in front of my face. So let me not do that because I don't really want to spend $500 on a new fucking monitor. You know what I'm saying? All I got to say is just be more patient, right? Think everything you do through. Think before you act. Think before you speak. And you actually come off as a lot more smarter and intellectual human being if you do that. I promise you. People will look at you better, right? You'll feel more confident in your words and your actions because you've thought it through and you've already played it in your head a million times. But it also doesn't mean overthink, because overthinking is a huge problem as well. If you overthink, then you aren't confident, and then you sometimes you doubt yourself. So I don't want to ramble too much, but that's basically it for the psychology lesson. Be patient, y'all, and I appreciate you for watching the video. If you want to see more content of me, just follow my TikTok, Instagram, and that's about it. Yeah. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.